1.
Are we good for the countdown? Good evening and welcome to the public hearing for the North Andover Old Center Historic District Commission. Prior to starting the meeting, I'd like to read the following statement. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting will be conducted via remote means. In accordance with applicable law, this public hearing of the Old Center Historic District Commission will be conducted via remote participation. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.northandovermass.gov. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting live may do so on the television by turning to Comcast Channel 8 or Verizon Channel 26 or online at www.northandovercam.org. Now, in-person attendance, or members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. Every effort will be made. To provide for the proceedings in real time. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Town of North Andover website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. If the public would like to participate in the public hearings, please email your question or your comment prior to or during the meeting to hazanoian@northandovermass or ma.gov. The question or comment will be read during the proceedings and responded to accordingly. I'll just read that at one point again. Please email them to hazanoian@northandoverma.gov. Okay, we're going to begin the meeting. I need someone to make a motion to call the meeting to order.
Harry, it's me.
Brian, the motion.
Go ahead.
Call the meeting to order.
Okay, I need a second.
Second, it's Kathy.
Thank you. Okay, meeting is now in order. First thing we have, is there any old business that we need to speak about? Let me just go around the room. Kathy?
No.
Roger?
No.
Laurie?
No.
Marty?
Nope.
Ryan?
No.
And has Kim joined us or no?
Yep. So I have nothing to bring up.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next thing on the agenda is the application for a certificate of appropriateness for 3 Great Pond Road. This application is to allow for exterior modifications, the construction of 6 parking spaces, and a modular block retaining wall. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to the applicant and have them walk us through the application.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tony Capichetti with Hayes Engineering at 603 Salem Street in Wakefield, Massachusetts. I'm the civil site engineer for the project. With me tonight is Ms. Lainey Finberry, who will be developing the project, and her specialty is the adaptive reuse of historic properties. She's done a number of these types of projects before, but this is the first one in North Andover. The project has gone through the Zoning Board of Appeals, as well as the Conservation Commission. And for being a site engineer, I'll start off with the site plan, which I believe is the last file in the Google Drive. It's titled Site Plan 3 Great Pond Road. And on the first sheet, it shows the location of the site. It is what is known as the old Grange building behind the Hayscales building, and across from the old parish church. And I'm forgetting the name of it, and I apologize for that, but it's right off the rotary at the intersections of Great Pond Road and Johnson Street. The site sat vacant for a number of years, and Ms. Finberry is looking to convert it into 3 residential units. There will be no exterior changes to the structure other than needed repairs, but everything as it's seen currently is how it will look, just fresh, refitted, with repairs made and new paint. The majority of the work involves the site work. We were required, we sought a reduction in parking, but were unsuccessful. We were required to maintain 6 spaces, and we're eliminating, if you were looking at the building from Great Pond Road, north would be to your left, south to your right. and the northerly driveway will be removed and restored to lawn, and we'll maintain one entrance off of Great Pond Road on the right-hand side of the building, and that is seen on sheet 3 of that site plan set. There's an existing retaining wall to the south, as our site is lower than the abutting properties. That retaining wall will remain, and the parking lot will drop off down the slope. And then we're going to create the 6 spaces in the low area. However, the slope continues to drop off rapidly, which is what requires us to use those retaining walls. And what we've done is we've looked at the large modular block from Shea that has a cut granite type finish to it. They are concrete, but they do have kind of a historic look to them. And those will line the parking lot to the east and north until it catches back grade. And there'll be 3 spaces to the east and 3 spaces to the north with full ability to back out and turn around, so vehicles won't be backing out onto Great Pond Road, which was the concern of maintaining the 2 existing driveways. And then we're providing stormwater management for the rooftop runoff, as well as the parking lot. That will be done underground, and that'll be the back of the building will be restored to a grass area. There is a guardrail requirement on a portion of the wall due to its height. Anytime there's a drop of greater than 30 inches within 3 feet of a traveled or traversed surface, a guardrail is required. So it would be a wooden style guardrail atop portions of that retaining wall. But as far as the historic preservation of the building, exterior, again, Ms. Finbury wishes to maintain everything exactly the same as it is currently, making some repairs as necessary, but this is what she does. So molding would be replaced in kind, and that sort of thing. If you know, we come across areas of rot and that sort of thing, we would use wood instead of some of the more modern products. And then again, repainting it white. The only potential other change is if we're unable to maintain the required energy rating for the building, we would not swap the windows out, but we would refit the exterior storm windows with custom-made ones that would allow us to meet the energy rating. But again, there would be wooden trim similar to what's there currently. There would just be a different type of glass for the storm window portion only. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions or concerns, and I apologize if I missed some of the issues that you're more concerned with. As a civil site engineer, I don't get to go in front of the historic commissions that often.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, we will have discussion, Tony. I have uploaded to the site in the share folder a series of photographs that I have taken of the structure. I would like to start, before we get into the sort of site design and addition of parking spaces, I'd like to start with the building itself, if I could. In a general sense, when I looked at the, there's proposed occupancy in the basement, for example, Tony.
Correct.
There are windows or cutouts for windows that currently have plywood in them. And we can look at those photos if you'd like, but several already, just as a starting point, have plywood. So what is the plan for those? To leave the plywood and paint it, or put another window there, or?
That is a a very good question. I would assume, so they haven't fully developed the architectural plans, but it would be retrofitted with the historic style window to match the existing windows that are in the structure. So I think it's 6/6 glass, and that's what would have to go
Okay.
back in.
Yeah, and as part of an educational process, and I appreciate that you said that, we have to approve those architectural features. That's part of what we're chartered to do. So we need to know, for example, what we do, and maybe that would be helpful, Tony. What we do is we will look at baseline, existing baseline or existing design of the window, and then we will see what's being proposed in terms of the architectural element, its composition, its material, its style, and then we will just have a discussion about that, and then make a determination of appropriateness for those architectural elements. We don't. But I appreciate that. I mean, I understand the intent, if you will, Tony, to restore the house, but we don't give a leeway in being able to just go ahead and sort of allow people to just make those decisions as to what needs to be replaced and what doesn't need to be replaced. And you know, I did put a bunch of pictures there because I feel there's a lot of work that does need to happen on the exterior. There is areas of decay and rot that I'm sure you're going to address, or someone will be addressing. And whether that's a gauge and replace or a modification, we need to understand what work will be done beyond painting on the structure. That's part of what we're chartered to do. And if there is another level, Tony, of architectural drawings that will help define that, then we will probably need to have a certificate for the structure at that time, which is fine.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask, is if it's possible to break this up into dealing with the site issues, and then
Sure.
I can sit down with Ms. Finberry and get the project architect to get cuts for anything that cut sheets for anything that would be replaced or new, and submit that sort of information separately, and do a separate certificate of appropriateness for the actual architecture.
Or what we could do, Tony, is I'll even be more helpful. I don't know that we would require to have a separate certificate. I did build it into this certificate, and on the agenda item, I did indicate there were going to be modifications to the building. So it is in this certificate.
So we could discuss and continue and then obtain that.
Yes. We can have a continuance so that it doesn't put us back at grounds, right at the beginning again and having to go through the process. So we can do it that way, which I would recommend in order to.
No, that's I appreciate you having added that to the advertisement. That was my fear, was that we didn't have enough discussion about the exterior that we would have to re-advertise. That's why I looked to separate it, but I do appreciate that you did that. So I think that is the correct way to do it, is we can have some discussion tonight, go back, get that additional information, and then, through the continuance process, be heard.
Yeah. So just to finish up on that, and that, I'm okay with that. And we can check in with the other commission members. The other piece of that is, as he's going through that, I did notice you're probably going to remove some probably unnecessary features of the structure, right? I mean, it looked like underneath the windows, I don't know if those were air conditioning units or vents or that are protrude from the side of the building. And I anticipate you're going to remove those, right? Which I would think, right?
That is
So-
correct.
So we review, it's not just what we add, but what we remove as well. So we would want to see some of that as well in there. I know there's this massive, metal vent on the back of the building. I don't know if you're planning on keeping that or removing that massive vent there, or.
I believe that would be removed and resided. I think this had a commercial kitchen in it at one point for events and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So, that's, I'm trying to give you the overall, what we, although the main structure, you're correct, is going to be configured the way that it is. And I understand, that it needs a level of some TLC and restoration. I got that, but those are part of what we are under guidance to review. So I think you got a pretty good feel of what that looks like. So for example, are you going to keep the side door the way that it is? Are you going to keep that pressure treated entryway there and just paint it, or are you going to replace some of that? Is that railing going to be replaced with another type of railing? All acceptable, meaning open for discussion and for us to review. But it's those pieces and those elements that we need to look at. I would say, in addition to that, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I shouldn't be cutting you off. Please, Mr. Chairman, continue, and I'll respond afterwards.
Yeah, I'm just trying to help, frame it up so that we can, then go through an more expedient process of looking at that. There are also some windows I did notice that were frosted for some reason. I don't know if that's just frosting from somebody adding something, or but even in removing those, or whether they can be just the frosting can be removed, or if you're not removing it, so that we get a clear picture of that. So that's something we are able to review, because we will be listing all of those architectural elements will be listed in a certificate of appropriateness, and then provided to the building department as part of the application for the building permit, so that they'll be ensured that those guidelines are met. So that's what I have for the structure. But let me just, before we go on to the site, Tony, let me just take a consensus from the other commission members and see if because I sometimes do, if I left anything out, or someone would like to add something or has a comment. So I'll start off. Kathy, I'll start with you.
Yeah, Harry, I think you covered it pretty well. Just so I understand how we're, moving forward. So there is going to be a list. Are you going to give the list to the engineer, the gentleman who we're speaking with, as to, we need to look at this. We need to look at, so he will have a list, and then we will go over that list the next time we have a meeting. Is that how it's going to work?
I actually, I think Tony had, what I heard was Tony, the architect is going to layer in that next level of detail.
Okay.
May have already done that, and provided some of that information into the spec sheets for the architectural design. I think what will happen is, if Tony could supply that, and we'll add that to the next meeting, I can take a look at that and review that with Tony to make sure that it is. I think Tony has a good understanding of what it is that they need to pull together. And then from there, then we'll open up the sort of discussion on the structure itself and reviewing, we'll kind of go around the building and look at those deletions or additions to the structure.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Okay.
Okay. Roger?
Yes, Harry, I'm here. Yeah, until we receive that additional information, it's kind of hard for us to, as you certainly know, to make any determination, right? We just need more information, and I look forward to receiving it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Laurie?
I think you pretty much covered everything, Harry.
Thank you. Marty?
That seems to be the way that we need to proceed. As far as this evening's discussion, you do have some visual, plans or photos or stuff that you're going to share with us at some point. Is that correct?
I have, Bernadette did upload all the photos in the share folder.
Okay.
I think in some ways, and I don't want to speak for Tony or the applicant, but I think, Tony, if you, after the meeting, or if you have already, can take a look at, I uploaded quite a few photos. That could be in many ways, other than the site pieces of this, just for the structure, we can use that as baseline if you want. So as we talk about any proposals going forward, when we see the architectural plans, then we can say, oh, okay, we can see what's there in the photo and then what's proposed, right? So I think that could be a good baseline. If you want, or if you want to add anything else, you could.
No, I think that's an excellent way to handle it, and that's what I was going to say is I think we'll have to have the architect develop some more detailed plans, and hearing the commission speak, I think Ms. Finbury's biggest fear was that the reuse would not be something considered as permittable by the commission, but it seems like you're very open to hearing this project, so she'd be committed to advancing the architectural plans and getting all this information to you. And I did go through those photographs, and I do think it's a good baseline, and I want to make sure that should the architectural set addresses, and my set as well, because there were some site items that were photographed as well, addresses those items, so we have something that comes back to this commission that says, okay, you've identified this as a baseline, and this is what we believe it'll look like in the future.
Yeah, and that's just the structure. We do have questions. I mean, I think we have to talk as a commission and with you and discuss, the site plan and the parking spaces. I think that's still a point where we may not be together on that yet. But I think other than that, I think what you stated is correct. But let's get the building structure, architectural piece out, and then go back to the site. Kim, did you have something that you wanted to add?
No, nothing that hasn't already been mentioned, and I think the plan's fine the way we have the next steps set up.
Thank you. And Ryan?
Yeah, as always, Harry, you did a great job in saying what we need presented. So yeah, I'm good to go.
Okay, great. So Tony, let's go to the site itself. Now, there are three pieces of this that I see, and maybe there's more. So one is the addition of the 6 parking spaces where that's being proposed, okay? And I know you've gone through several of the other commissions already, with conservation, zoning, and so forth. Then there's the architectural elements that go with that, i.e. the proposed blocks and the proposed for guardrail or the wooden railing as well. So whatever we finalize or get to, we're gonna need to talk more about those as well, okay? So let's talk about the parking, and I understand it's a very small site. I understand it's a tight site. It's in a tight place. It's a tight location. You know, I will say personally, I have some concern with the parking being expanded behind the current structures that we have on Johnson Street. I do. And my reasoning for that, and I think we have to talk about how we can work this out, if you will. I mean, it's not that we're trying to just say it's a no. My opinion. We haven't talked to the other commissioners. But you know, it's highly visible, that area from Johnson Street on the sidewalk when you're walking by, particularly near the brook area. I'm concerned of what that does to the structures in terms of the congruency and how it lines up with the buildings in between the two parking lots, if you will. And so it takes away from that for me. But let me, and have you considered any other alternate placement, Tony, of those in particular?
We have, and one of the biggest issues that we ran into is with conservation. There's a 25-foot no disturbance zone, which we kind of looked at trying to do a loop around the building and get more of the spaces directly behind the building. And that was not possible because of the 25-foot no disturb. And then the 50-foot, again, is a waiver from conservation to put any pavement in that. So that was what kind of forced us to that side. We did go to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and we looked to just do 4 spaces, which would give you 1 per unit, as well as 1 for the for any visitors. And we tried to argue that across the street there's plenty of on-street parking on just about every day except for Sundays and events at the church that's open to the public, and we were unsuccessful for that. We also tried to just have 2 cars on either side that would pull in and out just like they do currently, and that was unsuccessful as well, and that's how we ended up with this kind of 6-space configuration. It is a very difficult site. There's a lot of site constraints so that's kind of how we came up with it. And you know, we'd be open to trying to find some screening. I tried to look at it on my drive home today. I'm also a North Andover resident, and there was a pretty large hedgerow that's kind of off behind 1012, kind of at that back property line that screened a lot of what was going on in back. But I do understand your concerns that I think once you get after the brook, you kind of lose that hedgerow that screens it. I think we'd be open to adding more vegetation if that would help, providing a landscape plan to provide some screening.
And currently, can I ask this question, Tony? Currently, you are proposing that the entire the additional spaces that are behind those two residences, is that asphalt, or are you open to other materials like gravel or something that would be an alternate material, or what is your thought process currently, like the current thought process?
I think we could be open to a different material, especially if we could pave maybe the 3 that are directly behind our building, and then try and look at a different surface for those spaces that are behind the other structures. That way, people do like a hard surface. It's easier to maintain. It's easier to plow.
It is true, but it does
awesome.
alternate materials do soften the area a little bit as well. If we looked at vegetation as well, I mean, We're right up against, the residents that are there now. I saw they had a little, above ground garden, and it's. But let me go around the commission and then let's see what people's thoughts and questions might look like, and then let's further the conversation. Kathy, I'll start with you.
Okay. Okay, so I'm looking at the architect's, let's see, the one that has the block that shows the 1, 2, okay, the second one. So there are going to be 6 parking spaces behind with a road between them so people can back in and out. Am I correct on that? And then go out the driveway to Great Pond Road?
That is correct. So there's 24 feet of space, which is what's required to back up out of a nose-on parking space behind all those spaces, so they can turn out and basically make a 3-point turn in reverse direction, so no one will back out onto Great Pond Road.
Okay, and that land is owned by by Miss Finberry, who owns the, who's doing the project. Am I correct on that? That is all owned by you already. You don't have to seek permission from those other. How is that working?
So,
I don't understand.
Center Realty Trust owns both parcels, and Miss Finberry has a purchase and sales agreement upon all approvals to purchase the land. So she would own both of those parcels if this project were to be approved.
And so I know what Harry was saying about a small patio. I've been back there myself. And so the people who are renters will have no say over this. Am I correct? The people, am I correct about that? They will lose their backyard, so to speak.
That is correct. Although I believe that those structures, no, I'm sorry. It's just the old Hayscales building that's part of the Center Realty Trust property.
So the other 2 are owned by Center Realty Trust also? Is that what you're telling me?
Except for 1012. That is Michael Donovan is 1012. I believe 68 and the Hayscales building are owned by Center Realty Trust as well.
Right.
Okay, so the yellow, what used to be yellow behind that's a private owner, is that it?
1012, yeah.
1012, yes.
Okay, and unless I'm not looking at this correctly, then his backyard is going to be compromised, am I right?
We won't be, we can't go off of property, but yes, the parking spaces would be behind him on land that is owned by us, by Center Realty Trust.
Okay. I don't know all the rules and regulations. That's why I'm asking, if you'll excuse me. But so the fellow who owns the house has no. Do you have to go to the neighbors and say this is what there's no legality in that? You can just do what you want. Is that correct?
No.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, go ahead. I'll let you go, Tony.
So he was that owner was notified for both the Zoning Board of Appeals and Conservation Commission, and he was present.
Okay.
I don't want to represent that he was happy about the project in any way. However, both of those boards took into account his comments. We are removing a tree that he had some concerns about, and both boards approved the project in our favor. And we're looking to be good neighbors. If there's something that would work for screening for him, if we're more than open to adding something that would screen that area. But unfortunately, our original intent was not to go in that area. We went to the Board of Appeals and we were unsuccessful because they were concerned with safety issues if we had people back out onto Great Pond Road, and Conservation did not want us to go into the 25-foot other than some restoration work that's proposed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And originally this was just going to be 2 condos. When was the decision made to go for 3? I worked for the Historical Society for about 10 years and was in the bottom building. As you know, clothing and 3D objects are over there, and it's quite moldy, to say the least. You did get approved then for a condo in the bottom, I guess. I'm surprised. I just have to say I'm surprised.
So my involvement with this project's only been with Miss Finberry's involvement, which is the past year or so.
Mm-hmm.
And the proposal that we put forth to the town has always been 3 units. That's the only way economically it works to be able to pay for the restoration of the structure, the conversion, and obviously turn a small profit on the project as well. But at 2 units, the numbers just don't work, and the project would not go forward.
Okay, thank you.
I have a follow-up question, Tony, if you could help us. Was any consideration given when you were looking at it to I'm looking at page 3 that we were just speaking of on the site plan, right? Was there any consideration, and I'm not a proponent of this, by the way, but I'm just asking if there was consideration, where the stone steps are and the retaining wall as you're entering in, right? So maybe putting 3 parking spaces there and removing that area? You know what I'm asking? In saying, like, if you mirrored the 3 parking spaces behind the building and brought them, behind the Hay Scales building, so that all 6 were basically
like parallel spaces.
Yeah.
So we did look at that. The issue is there's not enough pavement width for 2-way traffic. As it is, we're already dealing with a 11-foot lane, so cars are going to have to kind of watch for each other at that exit way. We'd need to be able to loop back around the building, and that ran into the conservation issues. We did have an issue with the plan where we had some parking that was nose in towards the property line at 6, 8, 10, 12, and we kind of threw that concept out because we thought it would cause more issue with the neighbors, with cars coming in at night with headlights on, shining directly into their first floor. So we thought with the headlights going off into the woods, that made more sense for nighttime and for convenience. And we tried to, kind of set it up so that was only a little turning area that would be behind them without affecting them too much for nighttime. But, it's a tight site.
But couldn't you? Yeah, but to that point, though, I mean, I know you've probably exhausted it to death, and I'm not trying to do that to you. But you've got a lot more area behind, the Hay Scales and 6-8, right? And again, the stone steps and the stone wall, they've been there for a long time, and probably from the 19th century, sometime, or early 20th century. But if you were to remove that, right, and I appreciate coming in head first into that, but it would only be 6-8, right, because the other's a commercial building, right, and it really wouldn't be as much 10-12. And you could put up some sort of a mask there, couldn't you? I mean, you could put even a solid fence there, because that area is not visible by public way to anyone. I mean, you can't see it from Great Pond Road. You can't see it from Johnson Street. I mean, the best you could see it is through that small, narrow entranceway between Hay Scales and 6-8. But even at that, they've got the overhang there as well. So, it almost appears that you could squeeze those in and even pull them closer, right? With some fencing and even some. Well, I think I mean, unless there's your feeling that that's not something that's doable.
I'm willing to take a look at it on the computer and try and make it work dimension-wise and see if it's safe. So by all means, I'm not saying that this is the solution we came up with is the best solution, but it's the one that, going through the other boards that came up as the safest.
Yeah,
and
I realize that.
But I am willing to revisit that and take a look, and I can bring a sketch in. We are going to have another hearing because we have to deal with the architecture, but I can bring a sketch in. If it works, by all means, it's something that we would be willing to do. It would not be a huge modification, but I'm not willing without sitting there with the CAD and taking the measurements.
I know.
To commit that
Yeah,
it would.
I realize that. And I'm not trying to make it more complex. It's just, we are taking away from some open space that's behind those houses that is visible from the public way, that then, makes that, when we look at congruency in the old center, we're looking at on the frontal part, considerable, asphalt. You're looking on now visibly, we're losing that appeal somewhat on the backside. To be able to not lose that is kind of important. I think it's important, and I want to feel like we've exhausted everything in order to preserve that. But let me ask other commission members. Roger, you're next on the list.
Yes, I am. I'm very concerned about 1012, that address with the parking spots being right on top of them. I like the idea of some additional screening. I'm really concerned about the amount of asphalt back there. It's just it's a very hard it's a hard landscape. It's just seems so commercial to me in that historical area of town, and specifically right there, across from the church and behind hay scales. And yeah, I don't know. I guess if we could get a look and see maybe some renderings with some additional screening and possibly maybe a different material for those 3 parking spots. Maybe I may come around. I'm not thrilled, quite honestly.
So how much elevation, Tony, build up on that you would need to do for that retaining wall?
So
if we left it as is, on the brook side,
All right. So at the houses, we're actually about a foot below the backyards of 6/8 and 10/12, between 6 inches and a foot. Then the wall begins a little bit further away, and because of the slope, which starts at 18 inches at that first space behind 10/12.
Yeah.
The highest point, I believe, is at the next corner where it's 3.5 feet, and then it comes back up to 2.2 feet at the corner between the 3 spaces on the right hand side and the 3 on the top, and then gets higher again, but still less than 4 feet. So at the highest, I'm sorry, is at the catch basin where it's 3.9 feet. So the wall is less than 4 feet in every area, but behind 10/12, you're looking at about 3.5 feet is the highest point.
Yeah. Okay. And then on top of that, you need to put some sort of a guardrail structure on top of that.
Correct. That would start just at that corner on the uppermost. So I don't know if you can see that 97x5 in an oval.
Yep.
There's a line on the top of the wall that runs through the middle. It's just around that space on that corner that the guardrail has to go. And then again, by the catch basin, there's a similar. So it's probably, one section, 1.5 going towards 10/12.
Yep.
And then maybe 2 sections along the the other
Yeah,
side of the
I
street.
see what you're saying. Yep, I got it. Yep, right where the catch basin and then the other corner where it says 97 by 5. Yep. And, okay.
Those are the areas where we exceed 30 inches in height.
Yep. Okay, that's helpful. Laurie, let me ask you to be up next.
I would say, I think I'm going to echo a little bit of what Roger said. The amount of pavement is a lot for that area. I know you mentioned that 2 units wouldn't work. I think ideally 2 units and fewer parking spaces would help. I mean, even with landscaping, I know saying it is one thing, practically speaking, it's not going to be the same. It doesn't really help all that much, in my opinion. So, I mean, I would like to see something with fewer parking spaces. And I don't know if that means, taking it down to 2 units instead of 3. But I think it would help.
Okay. Marty?
Okay, I share Kathy's concern as somebody who worked with costumes and other storage in the lower level of the Grange for over 10 years. I have a real hard time seeing that converted any kind of a livable space. Nevertheless, it has to be 6 spots. That is sort of non-negotiable.
Well, the zoning board of appeals wasn't going for the 4 spots. They weren't willing to approve it with the reduction in parking, and we did try to. That was our original application, was with 4 spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And they indicated that they didn't feel that was enough parking for the building. But I do think I have some, and I need to hear from the other commissioners, but I think I have some input to try and revisit the design a little bit to try and handle some of these issues.
Yeah.
Harry, it's Kathy. I have a question. And I really don't know the answer to this. Do we have, I know Tony, the engineer, said it wasn't feasibly money-wise to reduce this to 2 condos. Does our commission have the legal authority to ask for that, to reduce it
Nope.
to 2?
No.
We don't. Okay.
No, we don't. No, what we don't have that. That's for the other organizations to look at. Where we are though is looking at the additional parking spaces and the impact that those parking spaces has on the center is what we have jurisdiction on.
Okay.
And the appropriateness of adding that in terms of what it will do, in terms of, like the conversation has been, I mean, that's an open space that is clearly visible by public way, particularly on Johnson Street, the old center where people are walking, and, so that is in our jurisdiction. Whether they have 3 units, 5 units, or 10 units, that's not up to us. They can have 100 units in there. If they start changing the configuration of the exterior structure, the doors, the windows, the materials, so forth and so on, that all falls in us, right? But the number of units does not.
Okay, I just was asking because if it was 2 units, they would need less parking and that would help somewhat, but okay. I understand.
Yeah. Well, they could still be plagued even if they had that. So, but that's not our call. Our call is more placement. Next on the list, Kim.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. And Ryan. I'd like to hear from Ryan.
Yep. So I do have a couple of questions for Tony. First, I've heard apartments or condos. Is it going to be condos or apartments?
They will be condominiums. So
Okay.
there will be ownership.
Okay. The town, I know the ZBA is, I've seen the process multiple times with them. They're trying to convert 2 units to 3 units, and they're always all about the parking. And I get that. Sometimes they're kind of all over the place in the parking. Did they tell you like what is like their philosophy? Is it like they need 2 spaces per unit, or is it based on bedrooms? Did they say their philosophy on that?
Yeah, so the zoning requirement is 2 spaces per unit, and we asked for,
Okay.
relief from that, and they weren't willing to grant it.
Okay, because I saw on the plans, it's a 1-bedroom, it's a 2-bedroom, then a 3-bedroom. Am I correct on that?
That is correct. And Ms. Finberry's experience has been that these are usually owned by people who are recently retired and generally
Yep.
1-car families, but they did not buy into that.
Okay. I mean, especially with that 1-bedroom, I would think you could get away with 1 parking spot. And it's too bad that they didn't give you that reduction, because that would make this a little bit better. And I don't know if you go back to them, if you have to go to ZBA. I don't know if Harry, any of us could go and speak on behalf of the Old Center Historical District to be like, hey, this was our reasoning behind that. I mean, I know that's down the road a little bit, but just thought process there.
No, I mean, and that's something that I would sit down and speak to Ms. Finberry about. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because it would be nice to have the support of the Historic Commission if we did that.
Tony, would be, if we get to that place, if that's where we do end up, or if that's an opportunity and an option for us, I would be willing to do that, and I would be willing to share the reasoning behind what the impact would be to the old center. So I would be fully supportive of that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's great. So thank you for that, Harry. The other question was anything proposed? And I saw you guys when you were on the Conservation ZBA, and then it kind of went away for a while, and I unfortunately didn't watch the remaining parts of your meetings, so I apologize if this was mentioned during those meetings. But the left side of the building, or the east side, I guess it would be, there is some parking there. Was there any talk of, for maybe that 1-bedroom basement apartment, to leave like a spot or a tandem spot there and then reduce these other ones in the back? Or they just, conservation was like, hey, no, you got to make that back to loom and seed? Hello? Did I lose you guys?
No, I think we lost Tony.
Yeah, I can hear you fine, Ryan.
No, I don't see Tony on the screen.
Okay.
I got a message. He's left the meeting.
He
I
was?
scared him away.
No, we didn't scare him away. I think the call dropped. So, let's give him a second to call back in.
Okay.
Technology is great when it works. Always good when it works, and it's always horrible when it doesn't. So let's just give him a second. We'll give him a couple more minutes here. Hopefully he can call back in. I can tell you, I know the feeling. I was locked out myself, and I don't know. Sometimes the technology gets a little crazy. Let's keep holding.
Does anybody have a phone number maybe for him to see if maybe it's a bigger issue?
On video, Lainey, is that you on video? I can't. You have
On
you're muted. You have to unmute. Nope, you're still muted. You have to click. There you go. No, we can't hear you. Nope. We see you, but we can't hear you. You have to turn the volume up on the mic. No, volume up on the mic. Hold on.
At least she's maybe going to try and call in or something. Maybe the mic isn't working like the issue
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah, hold on. Hold on. Yeah, we're not getting volume. You're unmuted, but we can't hear you. Got to increase the volume on the microphone. Oh, now you're muted. Now you're unmuted. Oh,
Maybe they can just type in the chat box if they have his number to be able to call him.
I think Lainey was trying to contact him via texting. Is there a volume on the computer mic that you can turn up?
No.
Oh. How about, if you go to, hold on 1 second. Bernadette, are you still with us?
I am. I'm trying to see if I can help her out as well.
Yeah, I'm not. I can't. Bernadette, your volume's too low. Oh, I got an email from Anthony. I seem to have lost my ability to connect. I apologize and will keep trying. Otherwise, please accept this as a request for continuance. Okay. Okay. Well, Lainey, I did get an email from Anthony, and he's having internet. He probably let you know that he's having internet connection issues. May not be fault of his. It may be the connection. And he is making a request for the continuance. Is that okay? And I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion for a continuance. What I'll do is I'll touch base with him tomorrow and see how much time he would like. You know, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever time he feels he would like, and then we'll schedule the continuance based on that. Okay, will that work? Okay, great, thank you. So I need someone to make a motion that we're going to continue this meeting.
Harry,
Okay.
it's Marty. I will so move.
That was your Marty?
Yep.
Okay, I need a second.
I'll second. It's Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm going to just take a roll call for people. Kathy, you in favor?
In favor, yes.
Roger?
Yes.
Laurie?
Yes.
Marty?
Yes. Yes.
Kim?
Yep.
And Ryan?
Yes.
Okay, everyone has voted to have a continuance. I'll touch base with him tomorrow, and then we'll schedule the continuance, and then we'll go from there. I want to thank you for attending, and we'll go from there. I'm going to move to the next agenda item, if I could, which is any new business that anybody has. I'll go around the room. Kathy?
Nope, none.
Roger?
No new business.
Thank you. Laurie?
Nope.
Marty?
No.
Kim?
Not for this meeting, no.
Okay, thank you. And Ryan?
No.
Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting for today?
Harry, it's
Harry,
Ryan. I'll
Roger
make
here. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I got Roger, second. Ryan?
Ryan. Second it. Yep.
Okay, I'm just going to quickly go around the room. Kathy?
Yes.
Roger?
Yes.
Laurie?
Yes.
Marty?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
And Ryan?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. It was great questions. And we'll wait to hear back from Tony, and we'll have a continuance on the meeting.
Very
Okay.
good.
Great.
Thank
Enjoy the
you.
evening. Enjoy
Yep,
your
good
evening.
night all. Yep,
All right.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.